So some of you know who Liz Gilbert is. She's famous for her book, Eat, Pray, Love. And I heard her the other day being interviewed on a podcast by a woman named Kate Bowler. And this is what she said. She said, we have this American pathology. Pathology. She went ahead and used the word pathology. Said it wasn't too strong a word. That our life must have some higher purpose. As if it's not enough to just have a life. Like, what a miracle. What a miracle to just have a life. And she says, here's the formula that we've been fed in every commencement speech and every, motivational speech. Each of you is born with a special gift. Each of you has one unique offering that no one else in the universe can provide us. It's why you're here. It's your job, your purpose to find the one thing that literally no one else can do. That's your purpose. I also love that she uses the word literally correctly. Once you find it, you must foster it. You must master it. You must curate it until you are at the pinnacle of the thing that only you can do. I hope you're catching her sarcasm. I hope I'm representing her sarcasm adequately. And then you must monetize it, because if you don't monetize it, you're not really successful. It's just a hobby. But that's not all. You must now become an opportunity creator for other people within this purpose. And just making it an opportunity for others is not enough. You must uplift others with this great purpose of your life. And, right, not done yet. And you must leave a legacy, write a book, start a foundation. In short, you must become famous, at least to some group of people, for this wonderful thing that you have done that no one else could ever have done, that was the great purpose of your life. But no pressure. I hope you're laughing, because I laughed while I was listening to the podcast, and there was a live audience, and they're chuckling too. This, says Liz Gilbert, is literally what you have been taught. Am I wrong? She's not wrong. And after last week's sermon about our gifts, I could hardly wait to share that with you. And if you want to get back to that, you can chase it down on our YouTube channel. You can find last week's sermon on our website or on our Facebook page. Today, we're going to continue talking about risking something big for something good. Last week we talked about realize your gifts. How do your gifts align with the world and what's going on around you? And today we're going to talk about immerse, live curiously. Live curiously. What do we discover if we come to people, relationships, situations, and experiences with curiosity? Curiosity and a little humility, instead of already knowing what happened or what it is or who these people are or what their motives are or what they're doing or what I am or how they've treated me or what's going on in the world. We leap to judgment. It's human nature. It's part of our biology. We need to figure that out for survival. But Jesus is asking us to immerse ourselves in relationships of curiosity. What do we discover when we listen with curiosity and humility to a diverse set of voices? I really believe that this change-making thing is how we become passion-driven change-makers in the way of Jesus. And I love that that is my great calling. But it's also important for me to remember and for you to remember that while my calling is great, I don't need to be great. I can be pretty good, some days less good. I don't have to be world class at my calling, which is a good thing because I'm not going to be. Today we're going to focus on relationships in particular, but as I do that, the tendency is for you to think about your personal relationships, and I want you to do that. But sometimes also notice that these truths are true for our relationships with people around us that we don't know, and even with people we only ever hear about. Jesus calls us as regular people with regular lives to do regular things that are made great by the way we live them. And we're going to get right to that with the Beatitudes. You are familiar with this, I'm sure. What we have here is not a sermon, even though there's, in many Bibles it says the Sermon on the Mount. In the original scripture, it doesn't say the Sermon on the Mount, or in Luke's case, the Sermon on the Plain, or maybe it's the other way around. What we have here is Jesus's greatest hits. Jesus's greatest hits. In the few verses right before this, Matthew tells us that Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, curing every disease, every sickness, so his fame spread. And then what Matthew is going to do is tell us, and this is what he said. This is what he said, not on a particular hill, on a particular day, to a particular set of people. That may have happened, we don't really know. But what we do know is that over and over again, on hill after hill, in gathering after gathering, in household after household, in synagogue after synagogue, it does say synagogue here, Jesus said these kinds of things. And they are not a set of beliefs. We have a tendency to listen to the Beatitudes as if they are a list of individual ethical behaviors to which we want to be continually conforming ourselves. Nothing wrong with that. Today I want to do something different. I want you to kind of listen to the whole thing. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what is the whole thing? What is the big picture happening here? Whenever we hear the Beatitudes, we're struck with their poetic beauty, but we are also usually struck with their obvious impracticality in the real world. So just listen for the big picture. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him. And then he began to speak and taught them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they'll inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they'll be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they'll be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you." It's almost impossible, isn't it? Blessed are the poor. So am I supposed to want to be poor? Or even poor in spirit? I don't think I want to be poor in spirit, so I'm working hard not to be poor in spirit. Blessed are those who mourn. Just tell someone the next time someone they love dies that it's okay because they're blessed in their grief. Blessed are the meek. Okay, maybe somewhere, but not in this universe. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Well, okay, I'm with that. Blessed are the merciful. Yeah, I'm good with that. Blessed are the pure in heart. Well, I can see how that would be a good thing, but hardly possible. Blessed are the peacemakers. Well, actually, long-suffering are the peacemakers. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. No, that's where I draw the line. Not going there. In the real world, where we all live, this isn't where the blessing is. Blessings go to people who are successful, even if they're successful at the expense of others. Those are the people we look at and we say, well, look at all their blessings. To be poor in spirit, to be peaceful, merciful, meek, that will get you nowhere in a culture that is grounded in competition and fear. So if we can't follow the instructions listed here, what are we supposed to do with this? Because Jesus means the Beatitudes for everyone. He means this for everyone. And if you read the Gospels, you see him preaching it, some version of it over here, some version of it over here. He preaches it to the rich people. He preaches it to the intellectuals. He preaches it to the poor people. He preaches it to the people he's not even supposed to be talking to, the untouchables. So living daily into our belief about the Beatitudes means we need to look at them as a whole. So if we step back, here's what I think the big picture maybe looks like. The Beatitudes are about relationships and behavior, not beliefs. The Beatitudes are about relationships and behavior, not beliefs. Because you can look at those and say, well, sure, I agree with this, sure, I agree with that. You can believe it. But it's all quite obvious to us that when we are able to behave in that way, now we're making some progress. The Beatitudes are about relationships. You notice nowhere in this list does Jesus say, I want you to believe this about God, I want you to believe this about me, I want you to believe this about the Holy Spirit, I want you to believe this about the world, I want you to think this, 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 and this, and this. Those beliefs, that's how we in the church get to draw a circle and tell people who can't come in where the line is. You can't come in here if you don't believe this, and you can't come in here if you don't believe that, and you can't come in here if you don't believe the other thing. Jesus does none of that. He says, this is about our relationship with everyone and everything. So if we approach the world from a posture of curiosity, the Beatitudes are a promise of what will happen. The Beatitudes are a promise of what will happen if we approach the world from a posture of curiosity. And notice, virtually every time Jesus is doing a healing or doing a miracle, whenever he's doing something in relationship with other people, he very often starts with a question. 5,000 people need to eat. Jesus starts by saying to his disciples, well, what have you got? A woman grabs the hem of his garment, and Jesus says, what can I do for you? Someone else demands attention, and Jesus says, what do you want with me, Mom? Just because they ran out of wine, how's that my problem? He starts with a question almost all the time. Curiosity is core to the invitation of the Jesus life. I'd like to show you a quick video from Gigi Blanche, who's one of the members of our Changemaker cohort. Yesterday, the cohort met for coffee and conversation, and Gigi told us that when she first heard about the change-making idea, we had a sermon series on it, and we had a panel here with some folks from the Bay Area. And she said, when I first heard about that, I realized I have no idea what I want to do. I don't know what kind of a project I'm going to have. I just knew that this was calling to me. She didn't have the kind of life, still doesn't have the kind of life that was going to be able to drop everything and have some kind of great, huge project that's going to, cure homelessness or any of that. She just knew it was a calling to her heart to be a part of this somehow. So listen to what she said yesterday. So lip readers, you're doing great. Oops. So that's not going to happen, you think?
I'd like to live in a world in which everyone feels like they belong to a tribe that cares for them and supports them, while also working toward furthering God's kingdom on earth. I'm going to join the Assistants League of Fullerton to learn what they are doing towards my goals. Would you like to be part of such a community?
Did you hear that? See that? She has big dreams. You probably didn't catch all of it at the beginning. But, she wants the world to be a better place. She has a huge heart. She wants everybody everywhere to have a happy, healthy life, a great visionary longing. And hear me now. She's starting with a simple, doable approach for the next step in that part of her spiritual journey. A simple, doable approach for the next step in that part of her spiritual journey. We're going to talk about that next week when we get to the S in risk, which is for start. And how Gigi is starting is that she has decided to look around to see where God is already at work, to look for a place in our community where she can find community and where there's already some momentum. And did you hear, you probably didn't even hear her very last word, community. Community, it's all about relationships, all of it. Your life, your day-to-day life, the most important part of your life, how we're going to tikkun olam, heal the world life, how you're going to manage to get through another year of work life, how we're going to solve homelessness in all of the America. All of it is about relationships. And the Beatitudes are all about relationships and behavior, not beliefs. So what do we discover when we listen with curiosity and humility to the people in our relationships? We've all had times when we feel alone and lonely, or we feel like this relationship or that relationship is out of whack, and sometimes it's just a little tiff with someone or a misunderstanding, and other times it's decades of estrangement from someone that we have loved. And wonder and curiosity are how we restore those relationships. Wonder and curiosity are how we restore those relationships. We tend to see a problematic relationship of any size and scope as a problem to be solved. And typically, what we want to do is solve it by making sure this other person changes. We want to solve it by making someone else change. Some of us who are more enlightened think the answer is that we need to change. There's probably some truth in both of those things. But how many of you have tried to change something about your character that you're still not happy with? Anybody still struggling with just one character? Okay, those of you whose hands are not up, you're lying. Or maybe not. Curiosity challenges our assumptions, gives us room to be unhappy when things go wrong, and it fosters a different way of being in conversation with people. So instead of being angry with ourselves because we've not done something right, or with others because they did something wrong, or building a story about how awful we are, or our shortcomings, or how much we don't like this other person, or how we've made an irreparable mess and it's also hopeless, we can adopt a posture of curiosity. What happened here? What happened here? Did I get triggered in some way? Did I say something that triggered someone else that I didn't even know? How do I extend my love to others when I'm upset? How do I love myself when I feel unlovable? What happened here? Long time ago, a friend who was in therapy, and believe me, she needed to be in therapy, her life changed entirely, she said, and my therapist gave me one tool. She said, instead of asking myself, why is that person like that? I started asking, I wonder what happened that made them like that. She said it didn't mean every relationship was healed. I still didn't want to be around some people, but I stopped being angry all the time. It didn't change my relationships as much as it changed me. Curiosity builds deeper connections. I mean, how do we face a world full of really obnoxious people with love in our hearts? The Beatitudes tell us about our behaviors. Our behaviors, poor in spirit. That doesn't mean you should have a crummy spiritual life. Jesus is not hoping that you have a lousy spiritual life. Jesus is saying poor in spirit as adopt a posture of humility, even if you don't feel like it. Like, maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe I got the wrong end of the stick. Maybe somebody knows something more than I do. Or maybe this is my time to step up even if I don't feel ready. Maybe I need to say what my truth is because someone else in the room needs me to do that. All of this comes from being in the world in a different way, a way that looks more like what Jesus outlines in the Beatitudes than what our culture has been telling us. Today I want you to hear just briefly from some of our Changemaker Church cohort. Come on up. Gigi couldn't be here today, and they know I'm doing this. I'm not calling them out without talking to them first. Patrick Dilley came into our church, and he already had, come on up here, turn around, face the people. You clean up good, Patrick, right? He already had something in his heart, and when we started talking about the Changemaker thing, he joined up because he felt like it would support what he was doing. So he's going to tell you briefly what that's about. It's really cool.
Hi, I'm Pat Dilley. I'm a Changemaker. I was new to this church, and I felt a calling to be more involved and become an advocate for daughters and fathers, particularly those in custody crisis. And I also wanted to help provide tools to, better fathers, make them more effective.
Nice, huh? Just hang on to that. Jackie came and got involved with Changemakers, she said, because that's just who I am. But she didn't have any real idea about what her project was going to be. And that's okay. Share with us a little, Jackie.
Well, it's a curiosity to me that I don't exactly know what my quote project will be yet, but I'm open to that. I have been interested in the people of the world all my life. For example, I have been an exchange student in Central America from the time I was in high school. I majored in Spanish in college. I have a Japanese sister. I have a Swiss daughter. I have a Panamanian family. I've studied border issues with Border Links when I was in seminary. So all of this social justice stuff just keeps coming up in my life. So I'm thinking that I'd like to work with schools, with particularly ESL students, to help them pass their English test in upper elementary school, and maybe additionally work with my dog as a therapy dog in the petpartners.org through their reading program. So that's where my curiosity lies.
Okay, hand that to Marissa. Because as we were ending our conversation, I was aware that the subtext for the whole conversation really kind of came out at the last minute, and it was about relationships, and not just each of their relationships to the people who lived with their concerned dads or children, but their relationship with other change makers in the whole cohort and those of us sitting around the table. And Marissa had something really good to say about that yesterday.
So in our initial retreat, I was paired up with a retired pastor from Modesto, which, I mean, we don't have much in common. He's from Modesto and a dairy farm, and I thought, oh boy, this is going to be challenging to find common ground. But we really united over our love of social justice, our passion for social justice. And now I hear from him 1 to 2 times a week, and I learn where God already is. Every week he helps point that out to me and shows me, and we've really developed and cultivated a relationship to help push us along this process.
Is it just me, or is this super cool? So as we immerse ourselves in the lives of others, the Beatitudes start to come alive in us. And they just sort of become our life. Every beatitude is a description of a relationship with someone who is alone or lonely or broken, or a relationship that's gone sour or sideways. And, that's a personal relationship or political relationships. We don't even really want to go there, right? And that is us. That is this world. And this, where we are living, who we are, as we are now, this is the work to which Jesus calls us. So, may we be known by our curiosity rather than our certainty. May we be bonded to one another, not by common agreement of beliefs, but by common faithfulness together. And may we walk as a light in this world, not because of our personal righteousness, but because of our longing for the cause of love. May it be so for us today. Amen.